Do we need speech class? Let's look at some ways it benefits us. It helps us to communicate, and it helps our understanding of what others say. But really, do we all know how to communicate? People I talk to are taking this class because it's a requirement. If you're like me, you put it off until you can't wait any longer. Well, here we are. Let's talk about where we're sitting with regards to speech. I don't know exactly how you feel, so I'll talk about how I felt starting this class. I truly didn't see the relevance of this class. I'm going for an accounting degree. Why is this class a gen ed for so many majors? It's time consuming, and I have a lot more things to spend my time on. This started to change when I realized about halfway through that I was learning a lot more than how to give a speech. I was learning how to talk to others confidently. What a novel idea. Let's be honest, I'm not planning on giving a lot of speeches in my career. And as presidential elections emphasized this year, most people have an opinion before they watch a speech and are rarely swayed. So what is the point? The point is to get your point across the most efficient and noble way possible. For example, don't try to talk to someone about how to act calm and collected while you're playing with the hem of your skirt. It defeats the purpose. We learned about body language and other nonverbal communications that we weren't completely aware of. For example, the amount of time spent focusing on someone's facial expressions is actually more than the time you spend listening to what they're saying. And as people, we do say a lot that we don't realize. I may be talking about speech, but if I'm looking up at the ceiling, you would assume that I have no real interest in what I'm saying. And this gives the recipient the idea that they don't have to listen to what you're saying either. So more is said by body language than by verbal speech. And there are many ways to give a speech. We've done 3 methods in this class: narrative, informal, and now persuasive. Which one do you think is going to be used most in your career? Once you have an idea on that, focus on that kind of speech. If I was only going to give persuasive speeches in my career, I wouldn't focus so much on the aspects of a narrative speech. I was reading a book for another class of mine called 101 Ways to Stand Out at Work. And in that book, it talks extensively about communication skills and how important they are. Your ability to communicate starts with your first interview. Nonverbal and verbal skills depend on whether you get a second interview. Citing the textbook for this class, primacy and recency effects are important here. Your first and last impressions. You can have a great interview and talk about how detail-oriented you are. Then, while you're walking out of the interviewee notices that your sock is tucked up around your pant leg and your shirt's untucked. And they're thinking, if you're so detail-oriented, why didn't you stop and look at yourself before you came in here? While you were on the job, if you pass the interview process, good communication skills have many forms and uses. Let's talk about confidence. If you're a confident speaker in the workplace, it goes a long way. And confidence comes from within. It's important to make sure you work on a good self-image as well as a public image. If you feel that you know what you are saying and are confident about it, it shows in nonverbal ways and even in the tone of your voice. And these all start with self-image. The next part of communication at work lies in listening. If your boss just got done chewing your coworker out for chewing gum while talking on the phone, it's probably not a good idea to be chewing gum as they walk past your desk or office. If the grapevine at work is saying that your boss is taking a job at another company, this may be a good time to brush up on your skills and make sure that management knows you're ready to assume that position. It's important to pay attention to what is important and what's not. This is part of communication, knowing what is reliable versus what is just office gossip. Most of us have had a job or two where there is so much gossip going around that it's like being in middle school all over again. And it's important to know what to follow and what to ignore. Communication through networking is another key aspect that is growing in the business world, and communication is relied on heavily this way. For example, if you are chatting with someone in a similar position at another company, you don't need to talk about the fact that your dog ran off and got the neighbor dog pregnant. They don't care. Networking is using communication with people from other companies to get good ideas, find out what's going on in your industry, and to follow trends. They don't care about your dog. Let me finish this off by talking about why communication affects us all. We use it all the time. As we noted in the earlier part of this class, even when we don't know we're communicating, we are, through nonverbal communication and facial expressions as well. We all know phases of communication that have been used on us. My favorite thought for this is when one of my children is in trouble. I'm trying to explain to them what they did wrong, and I'm looking at them as their eyes are rolling into the back of their heads, and their shoulders are sagging. And even if they're looking in my direction, they're looking past me so that they don't have to deal with what I'm saying. They don't know they're talking to me, but I do. Without this class, I would have never thought of it this way. When I'm talking at work now, I pay special attention to the things I say and to whom. I have to say, speech class should be a requirement. It is such a huge part of our lives, yet I didn't think it mattered. After all, I've gotten this far. How hard can it be to communicate? Now I know. Don't take things for granted. And to quote Aristotle, a wise man always has something to learn.